They told me self-worth came from success, from being liked, from doing everything right. But after 40 years of chasing approval, I hit a wall, because none of that gave me what I was truly looking for: peace. And that's when everything changed. You see, most of us are taught to measure our value using broken tools. We grow up chasing validation, mistaking applause for love, and thinking burnout means we're good enough. But here's the truth no one tells you. You were always worthy. You just forgot. In this video, I'm going to share 5 truths about self-worth that took me 4 decades to understand. Truths that no one teaches in school. Truths you won't find in surface-level self-help quotes. And yet, once you see them, you can't unsee them. These lessons shattered everything I thought I knew about confidence, self-esteem, and what it really means to value yourself. If I had known these things 20 years ago, I would have saved myself from years of anxiety, people-pleasing, emotional burnout, and self-doubt. So if you've ever asked yourself, why do I feel like I'm never enough, no matter how hard I try? Why do I shrink around others, even when I know I shouldn't? Why do I chase love that doesn't love me back? Then this video might be the turning point you didn't know you needed. Because these 5 truths don't just explain self-worth, they redefine it. We're going to explore why tying your worth to your achievements is a trap that keeps you running but never arriving. We'll look at how your inner voice sets the tone for how the world treats you, and how you can shift that starting today. We'll dive into the hidden cost of being the nice one, and why people-pleasing is often a disguised form of self-rejection. You'll also discover why loneliness is not what you think it is, and how solitude can become your greatest teacher. And finally, we'll dismantle the biggest lie of all, that love is something you have to earn. Stick with me to the end, because the final truth is the one that finally set me free. It's the one I wish someone had whispered to me when I was 25. It's the kind of truth that doesn't shout it here. And here's the twist. Most people will never learn these lessons, not because they're hidden, but because we're too busy proving ourselves to stop and see them. But if you're here, maybe you're ready. Maybe you've reached the point where pretending doesn't work anymore, where being strong just feels like being numb, where doing more has only made you feel less. If that's you, you're not alone, and you're exactly where you need to be. Because today, we're not adding more noise, we're peeling back the layers. This is not about motivation, it's about truth. Quiet, powerful, soul-level truth. So let this be your moment of pause, where you stop running and finally look inward, because everything you're searching for might already be within you, ready to remember what they made you forget. Then stay with me, because the first truth is something nobody talks about, yet we've all felt it. And once you see it, you'll start to feel lighter. Welcome to Mindspire, where deep insight meets quiet transformation. If this message resonates with you already, consider subscribing. We're building a space for thinkers, seekers, and those who are done pretending. Like this video if you're ready to go inward. And let's begin the journey back to your worth. Absolutely. Here's a naturally flowing, 400-word section for Truth 1. Self-worth is not based on achievement, written in a calm, introspective tone for a faceless voiceover. From a young age, we're taught that our value lies in what we accomplish: good grades, a stable job, a nice house, a full resume. The more you achieve, the more you're worth. Or so they say. It starts early. You get praised when you win. You get attention when you do well. Over time, that praise becomes addictive. It teaches you that being enough isn't a feeling, it's a reward, something earned through constant doing. But here's the quiet truth they don't tell you. No amount of success can give you what you refuse to give yourself. You can win awards, earn degrees, build a name for yourself, and still feel like an imposter, still feel hollow, because when self-worth is tied to achievement, failure feels like identity collapse. If you lose the job, if the relationship ends, if the plan falls apart, you don't just feel disappointed, you feel like you are broken, that you are not what you do, you are not your productivity, your paycheck or your performance. Self-worth is not a scoreboard. It's not measured by effort. It's not something you unlock after proving yourself to everyone else. It's something you quietly remember when you stop trying to impress and start learning how to just be. There is value in you, even when you're resting, even when you don't feel motivated, even when you mess up. Real worth doesn't disappear in failure. If anything, it reveals itself in those moments. Because when everything crumbles, and you're left without your titles, your roles, your routine, what's left is the real you, and that you is still worthy. You don't have to achieve to matter. You don't have to win to be seen. You don't have to constantly strive to justify your existence. In fact, the more you chase approval through doing, the further you drift from your inner peace, because peace comes from knowing, I'm still enough, even when I'm not performing. That truth isn't loud, but it's powerful, and once you feel it, you'll never look at success the same way again. Let's keep going. The next truth is something the world reflects back to you every single day, and most people miss. Of course, here's a 400-word section for truth 2. How you treat yourself sets the standard, written in a soft, reflective tone, suitable for a faceless voiceover. Most people think the way others treat them is just random, based on luck, timing, or personality. But the truth is, people often treat you the way you treat yourself. They watch how you speak about yourself. They notice what you tolerate. They pick up on what you allow and what you don't. Your energy, your tone, your body language, all of it sends a message. If you constantly doubt yourself, apologize for your presence, or shrink in rooms where you belong, you're quietly telling the world, I'm not enough. And often, the world responds in kind. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about waking, because the moment you begin to treat yourself with kindness, respect, and calm authority, everything starts to shift. It begins with your inner voice, that quiet narrator in your mind. Is it cruel, harsh, impatient? Would you say those same words to a friend? Because if not, why say them to yourself? Your relationship with you sets the baseline for all other relationships. And that's where boundaries come in. Many people think boundaries are cold, distant, or even selfish. But they're the opposite. Boundaries say, I value myself enough to protect my energy. I don't need to explain why I won't allow mistreatment. I'm not here to please everyone. I'm here to stay whole. When you raise your standards for how you treat yourself, you automatically raise your standards for what you allow from others. Suddenly disrespect becomes clearer, toxicity becomes louder, and peace becomes non-negotiable. This doesn't mean you walk around demanding respect. It means you carry yourself with quiet certainty, a kind of inner strength that doesn't need to be loud, because when self-respect is real, it radiates. You teach people how to treat you, not through force, but through consistency, through how you speak to yourself when no one's around, through what you choose to allow and what you choose to walk away from. That choice, again and again, becomes your standard, and eventually, it becomes your life. Let's continue. The next truth exposes a behavior we've all been taught to praise, but it's secretly draining your power. Certainly, here's a naturally flowing 400-word section for truth 3. People-pleasing is self-rejection, written in a gentle, introspective voice. For a faceless video, there's a part of us that just wants to be accepted, to be liked, chosen, seen as easy to be around. So we learn to smile when we're tired, to say yes when everything inside us is screaming no. Over time, That yes becomes a habit. You say yes to avoid conflict. You say yes to avoid guilt. You say yes to stay in relationships that are one-sided, draining, or even disrespect. But with every false yes, you quietly abandon yourself. You start to lose track of what you actually want. Not because you don't have needs, but because you've learned to silence them. People-pleasing feels safe on the surface. You avoid arguments. You stay on everyone's good side. But beneath that surface is a slow erasure of who you really are. You become what others need, what others want, what others are comfortable with. And somewhere along the way, you forget that you were never meant to be everyone's comfort zone. You were meant to live as you, not filtered, not watered down, not edited for approval. Self-worth begins to grow the moment you stop betraying yourself just to belong. When you stop bending to be liked. When you realize that your truth, your real voice, matters more than someone else's temporary approval. Saying no isn't selfish. It's honest. It's protective. It's necessary. Because every time you choose to people please, you're quietly telling yourself, your feelings don't matter. Your time doesn't matter. Keep the peace even if it costs you. But real peace doesn't come from avoiding conflict with others. It comes from ending the war within yourself. You don't need to explain your boundaries. You don't need to justify your needs. You don't need to play small to make others feel big. When you stop seeking permission to be yourself, you stop living in fragments, and you begin to return whole. Let's go deeper. The next truth is about something we all feel, but few understand, and it often gets mistaken for failure. Of course, here's a flowing 400-word section for truth 4. Solitude reveals your real value, written in a quiet, thoughtful tone, perfect for a faceless narration. There's a moment in life when the noise fades, the calls stop coming, the invitations slow down. You look around, and for the first time in a long time, it's just you, and that silence can feel like a punishment. We've been conditioned to see solitude as a red flag, as if being alone means being unloved, as if stillness means something is wrong. But that's a lie the world repeats, because it's afraid of quiet. It's afraid of what rises when there's nothing left to distract you. But solitude isn't rejection. It's a return. When you sit with yourself, with no performance, no validation, no audience, you start to see things clearly. Who you really are, what actually matters, what's been weighing you down. It's in those moments of stillness that the masks fall off. The roles you've played fade, and underneath all of it, there's a version of you that's always been there, not trying to impress, not trying to prove, just being. That version of you doesn't need approval. It just needs space to breathe. Solitude gives you that space. It doesn't make you less valuable. It helps you see your value without outside influence. It reminds you that your worth doesn't depend on being chosen, included, or praised. Because true self-worth isn't loud. It's not found in crowded rooms or constant conversation. It's found in the quiet, knowing that you are complete, even when no one's watching. The world rarely tells you this. It celebrates busyness, noise, attention. But when everything goes quiet, you begin to hear a deeper voice. Not the voice of fear, not the voice of insecurity, but the voice that says you've always been enough. Even here, even now. And that's when something shifts. Not because anyone said it, but because you finally saw it for yourself. Let's keep going. The next truth is the one that shattered the biggest myth I believed about love, and it changed the way I see myself forever. Absolute. Here's a flowing 400-word section for truth 5. Love isn't earned, it's received, written in a grounded, heartfelt tone, designed for a calm, faceless voiceover. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that love is something you have to earn, that if you're good enough, nice enough, successful enough, then someone will finally choose you. We were told, sometimes directly, sometimes silently, that love is a reward for perfection.
So we became performers. We shape-shifted to fit in. We said the right things, wore the right mask, gave more than we had, just to feel wanted. And yet even after all that effort, something still felt missing. That's because love, real love, doesn't arrive when you prove yourself. It arrives when you stop proving. Love that has to be chased, earned, or negotiated isn't love. It's fear dressed as affection. It's approval disguised as connection. The truth is simple, but powerful. You don't have to perform to be loved. You don't have to hide the messy parts, silence your needs, or constantly give to be worthy of care. Because love that's real doesn't demand a version of you that's edited. It welcomes the full picture, the light and the shadow, the strong and the soft, the capable and the still healing. And something beautiful happens when you stop trying to convince others that you're lovable. You begin to believe it for yourself. You begin to understand that your value isn't up for debate. When that belief settles in, the people who are only attracted to your performance will fade away, and the ones who see your soul, not just your sparkle, will finally have room to find you. Because energy doesn't lie. When you carry the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are enough, you stop chasing, and you start attracting. You don't have to fight to be seen. You don't have to beg to be chosen. The right people don't need to be impressed. They just need to meet the real you. And when you believe you are enough, the world slowly begins to reflect that truth back to you, in ways you never imagined. Let's finish this together. The final words are not just a summary. They're an invitation to remember everything you already are. Of course, here's a smooth, natural conclusion, written in a calm, reflective tone, perfect for a faceless voiceover. Self-worth isn't built, it's remembered. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about coming home to who you were before the world told you you weren't enough. You don't need to chase it, earn it, or prove it. You just need to see it. Which truth hit you the hardest? Was it the one about achievements, boundaries, or finally realizing you don't have to perform for love? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if this message resonated with you, give this video a like. Subscribe to our channel for more quiet truths, hard lessons, and the kind of insight that doesn't just inspire, it transforms. You're not alone on this journey, and you were never less than